hear from Dr. Wisdom Enang, who will be joining us shortly, so that we can have a robust discussion around this amendment. One of the key aspects of it is that they want to improve and increase the host community commission from 3% to 10%. I know most of our Niger Delta brothers in Akwa Ibom, in Edo, in Rivers, in Delta will be happy. But even though they ask for more than that, by this point in time, it's a part of the good news that I want to come into the new amendment. But let's hear more from Dr. Enang, who will be joining us shortly. A very good day to have you, Doctor. Thanks for joining us on the show right now.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure.
I'm so happy that you came to the party on time. I won't say you came to the party late, because this is a good party for someone like you to be part of. But let's get down to the discussion. I've been able to make some analysis from what's really happening based on the amendment that is coming. One of the key aspects of this amendment is that for people in the oil and gas sector and others who have reviewed this new amendment, they are saying it's like this amendment is to review and balance revenue sharing formula in the oil and gas sector that will favor the federation. But what do you think about this amendment?
Well, I mean, yes, amendments of this sort are meant to make sure that more money comes into the coffers, but we have to be careful because, again, Nigeria as a country must play within the confines of the international community where there's a lot of competitiveness. Competitiveness in the emergence of new jurisdictions with oil and gas opportunities. I mean, we're talking Papua New Guinea, we're talking Guyana, we're talking Mozambique for gas, we're also talking Permian basins in the US. And so these investments can go anywhere. They can come to Nigeria, they can go anywhere. So in balancing all of that, we must ensure that, yes, the revenue take we want to get, but we must also ensure that, there is that competitiveness. You go so high and then you discourage investments. People will not want to, invest because they get much better concession plans from, other jurisdictions. I mean, already, in terms of the competitiveness in our deep water, Nigeria happened to have dropped. We used to be high up there, but when you started having people like Guyana and they're giving very sweet terms to investors, people started trooping out to Guyana and Papua New Guinea. So, without a doubt, there is a lot of things we need to consider. It's not just revenue for government, because I'll leave you with an adage. It is better for the government to be a small part of something very large than to be a big part of something very small.
Interesting. But Doc, let's also consider what the government is taking a look at. One of the beauty of this amendment, I would say beauty, because I know a lot of Niger Deltans, residents, citizens in Abuja, and those in respective states in Nigeria are watching us. Now, there's an amendment coming that want to increase the current 3% of host community contributed development trust from 3% to 10%. Doc, you are from that region, but what do you make of this 10% coming?
Yeah, I mean, again, very laudable, but we have to, as I said, balance percentage with reality, balance percentage with, the question is, are the investors getting that value? So if you increase the percentage, but then you have made it in such a way that there is a way for them to increase their own production capacity, then meeting the 10% wouldn't be a problem. But if that 10% eats into the existing, kind of profit margin, so the only way to cover 10% is by eating into profit margins, then it is going to be counterproductive. An increase in percentage, I mean, I'll give you context. It's like the whole called VAT issue. Nigeria is at 7.5. In places like the UK, they're at least 20% of its VAT. But people sometimes go there and do business and don't complain because there's, compared to, the environment here, the environment there allows for a lot more business flexibility, and for some of them. So when they do the work, the balance the equation, they find out that they can still afford to pay the 20%, and it shouldn't be a problem. So, yes, I hear the cry to increase it, but I'm also worried that we might also be taxing more of the status quo rather than expanding the base so that we have even if we get to a nominal tax rate of about 7%, it can be well accommodated without, that being a deterrent to investors.
But I mean, Doc, let's get to the controversial aspect of this proposed bill now. Section 8 of the proposed PIA currently talk about the commercial activities of the regulatory bodies. And you know the regulatory body here is the NUPRI, Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission. But there is a kind of a rift that may come if this amendment see through, in the sense that production sharing contract, according to the new PIA amendment, will now come. I mean, NUPRI will not take that charge from NNPC. And many analysts like you who are in the energy sector are now saying, and why will you allow NUPRI, a regulator, to now become part and parcel of production sharing contract? But you are there, Doc, and you understand more when it comes to all these technicality. But what do you make of this new amendment that will take the power of production sharing contract away from NNPC and hand over to NUPRI? What do you have to say about that, sir?
All right. Thank you very much. For me, I think we need to be careful because we do not want to end up in the legacy challenge that we had have been issued before now, which was where NNPC was the regulator and also a player in the field. That's exactly where I think we need to be careful. I understand the need to perhaps allow NNPC to operate its assets and function as an independent company, and then lift that burden of having to mediate certain interests of Nigeria with other parties. I understand that. Well, we must also really ask ourselves, can you be a regulator and a player at the same time? Because that was what the governance structure of the PIA was created or crafted with the hindsight of the challenge that a lot of players felt it was unfair. You're competing for the same interests with someone who is your regulator. How do you know you get you get some sort of opportunity? You even get a chance. So I would like to first and foremost say, yes, we're trying to solve a problem, trying to make NNPC to be as independent as possible, operate just like we would have Saudi Aramco and the rest. But let's not create another problem while solving the problem in context.
Interesting. Let's also take another look at another controversial aspect of the coming amendment. Minister of Finance Incorporation, Minister of Petroleum Incorporation, these are the two incorporation established under the current PIA to have the ownership of the NNPC. But right now, there is a new amendment coming to hand over that ownership to just Minister of Finance Incorporation. Even though Murphy was part of the initial one, but now they want to make it only for Murphy. That's the Minister of Finance Incorporation. Analysts are saying, this will not all go well. How do we want our foreign investors to feel? But for you, what's your take on that, sir?
Well, for me, that particular adjustment, I don't think is entirely necessary. I think the Ministry of Petroleum, I agree with the need for the partnership that currently subsists between the Ministry of Petroleum and that of the Finance. I think we should keep it that way. I don't see the need, except there's something that I'm not also privy to.
Exactly.
But I feel that there are more advantages in keeping it that way than in making any adjustments at the moment. Again, for me, I think I'm going to go back to some of the instructions that I used to get from my supervisor during my PhD, and he would tell me the simpler the solution, the better it is. We have a lot of problems in Nigeria, and trying to create more complexities out of what should have just been a simple solution, and then we have other areas that probably need more complex assessments, and we're not doing that. That's a problem that I'm having. So let's keep it simple, let's keep it streamlined, and let's make sure that there is absolute clarity on why certain decisions are being taken, because this particular one is a bit ambiguous for me as to why it's been done.
So, Doc, let's also consider one other aspect of the bill. Although this one is on the part of NNPC himself, some of his equity in some joint venture, some of his assets, according to Nigerian Union of Petroleum Workers, they are saying that government should not tamper to sell those assets. But we all know that at this point in time, if government doesn't take action on some of those assets, especially as many of us are saying that NNPC should go to Nigerian stock market. But what do you make of this demand by oil workers that government should not sell any of NNPC equity assets in any of the joint ventures? What's your take on that?
Well, so this is what we need to understand. Assets are often talked about without some context to liabilities.
Exactly.
And that is what people need to know. So for the benefit of your audience, I will tell you that yes, we have the joint venture. For the most part, it's about 40% to 45% in most establishments. However, it also means that NNPC needs to also, so the way the contract works is with joint venture, the NNPC brings money, and the other partner, which is a private company in this context, brings money, or other partners, they bring their money. And if it's a 60-40, NNPC brings 40% of whatever money is required for funding or maintenance. And the other party brings the 60% that is required, or if they are partners, they come together. The challenge there is, if for any reason NNPC is not able to bring this money, then there will be an issue of debt happening across. So because what you call an asset simply twists around and becomes a liability.
Exactly.
Because projects can't move on because the cash commitment based on the equity basis has not been met. Right? Now, let me just for a second explain how that has a contrast with the the deep water, the PSC contracts. The PSC contracts, contrary to this other one model, we have the investors bring their own money, and they prospect the entire investment, and then they go through, produce the oil, and at the point of getting that oil, they now pay for royalties and taxes in the form of oil. So they give the oil to the government and they say, okay, look, this is your oil, and the government then mandates who takes that oil and sell it for them. So they calculate and say, okay, we're giving you've taken 1 million barrels, for example, we're giving you maybe 500,000 barrels, which is equivalent to your own to the royalties and taxes that accrue. When you sell that, you should recover your money.
Exactly.
Do you get what I mean?
Very well.
So that way, it means that the companies are committed 100% to the money that comes to develop those fields. It also means that the government do not have, there can be disruptions because government doesn't have to bring out money to as part of their commitment. So when we are talking about the JV, now let's go back. Let people also understand that where the NNPC, for some reason or reprioritization, cannot meet the cash commitment, what becomes an asset turns into a debt liability. So if the new NNPC leadership have come to the thought that any of those assets, if flipped, might be able to allow them, perhaps not go into so much expenses, and it might be actually maybe a right decision because it might give it to a less bureaucratic and more streamlined organization who has the flexibility to be able to handle anything on that field. Because the bigger the organization, like NNPCL, the more expensive it is to run those fields, and it is actually sometimes, even more counterproductive because that flexibility to get approvals may not allow decisions to move on as required. So let people balance it. There is not totally assets without commitments. The assets on the other side have some commitment that, if not met, becomes quickly a liability. And if NNPCL feels that the liability component is a lot big, overweighs the asset side of things, then it's a better decision to actually sell it off.
Exactly. Doc, I really want to appreciate you for coming on the show. Although this is a developing issue, and I can assure we need to have a revisit on it. So maybe we would have to call you in to help us to unravel some of the issues, because the amendment is still underway. It's not yet concluded, but there are a lot of issues, there are a lot of criticism against the amendment, which someone like you can help us to understand going forward. Thank you so much for coming on the show today, sir.
Thank you very much. God bless you. Thank you.
All right.